Carlos Correa returns to Astros. Trade breakdown analysis. In a stunning turn of events, the Houston Astros are set to welcome back Carlos Correa from the Minnesota Twins. As reported by ESPN's Jeff Passan just hours before the MLB trade deadline on July 31st, 2025. This move has taken many by surprise, marking a significant moment in the baseball world. Correa, who previously earned the Rookie of the Year title and was a two-time All-Star during his first tenure with the Astros, has agreed to waive his no-trade clause to facilitate this trade. He will be stepping into the role of third baseman, joining forces with Jeremy Pena on the left side of the infield. Reflecting on his decision, Correa shared with MLB.com, "I had some conversations with the front office in Minnesota, and we were not moving in the direction I thought we were after making the playoffs in 2023. They concurred that it was time for me to move on. I made it clear that there was only one team I would consider for this transition." The Astros entered the trade deadline with a focus on acquiring a left-handed hitter and a starting pitcher. However, with third baseman Isaac Paredes facing a potentially season-ending hamstring injury, the team intensified their efforts to secure Correa. Shortly after, they also addressed their need for a left-handed hitter by trading for outfielder Jesus Sanchez from the Miami Marlins. As for what the Twins will receive in exchange for Correa, details are still emerging. Reports indicate that the Marlins will send right-hander Ryan Gusto, shortstop Chase Jaworski, who ranks among the top 10 prospects in Houston's system, and outfielder Esmael Valencia to Minnesota in the Sanchez deal. Carlos Correa, now 30 years old, has a contract that includes a total of $91.5 million owed from 2026 to 2028, along with club options extending from 2029 to 2032. These options will become guaranteed if he meets specific playing time criteria. The Twins, currently navigating an ownership transition and looking to reduce payroll, are expected to absorb part of Correa's remaining salary to finalize this trade. Originally drafted as the first overall pick in 2012 from Puerto Rico, Correa has been a pivotal figure in the Astros' success, including their World Series victory in 2017, which solidified their status as a dominant force in the American League. However, it's worth noting that Correa's performance this season has not been up to par, as he has recorded a batting line of .267, .319, .386 with 7 home runs over 93 games. On the other hand, Jesus Sanchez, 27, has shown promise with a career batting line of .246, .312, .432, accumulating 69 home runs and 29 stolen bases in 522 games with the Marlins from 2021 to 2025. Primarily playing in right field, he remains under team control until 2027. This trade raises intriguing questions about the future of both teams. Will Correa's return to the Astros reignite his career, or is this a gamble that could backfire? What do you think about the Twins' decision to part ways with such a talented player? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Astros reunite with Carlos Correa. MLB 2025 trade deadline blockbuster. Twins, Astros still discussing Correa trade. Sources by Chandler Rome and Ken Rosenthal. Even after acquiring Ramon Urias from the Baltimore Orioles, the Astros remain interested in upgrading their lineup. According to sources briefed on their plans, one option is still a reunion with Minnesota Twins shortstop Carlos Correa, who is guaranteed $96 million through the next 3 seasons and would have to waive his no-trade clause. Correa told reporters on Wednesday night that talks with the Astros were not something that I think is serious right now, and sources from both teams downplayed the likelihood of a trade. Talks, however, remain ongoing. Houston is also still pursuing starting pitching, but some are worried the club could lose a bidding war in competition for Dylan Cease or Sandy Alcantara. If that happens, the Astros could pivot and to add a right-handed leverage reliever. Cardinals expected to trade Maton. After trading Ryan Helsley and Steven Matz on Wednesday, the Cardinals expect to complete their trifecta of reliever deals before the deadline this evening. Several teams are competing for right-hander Phil Maton, a veteran reliever with extensive postseason experience. He's owed roughly $700,000 for the remainder of the season. It's not a matter of if Maton goes, it's when, a team source said Thursday morning. Weird and Wild, Trade Edition. In the Orioles trade of Ramon Urias to Houston, they got back a right-handed pitcher named Twine Palmer. Bet you didn't know the last pitch thrown for the Orioles by a pitcher named Palmer was thrown by, Jim Palmer on May 12, 1984. Sources: Mets looking for CF upgrade. With hours to go until the deadline and after bolstering their bullpen, the Mets remain interested in upgrading at center field. People familiar with their plans said. Speculatively, Luis Robert still stands out as a logical fit because he hits left-handed pitching well while playing strong defense with speed. Eflin heads to IL. Still could get traded. Baltimore Orioles right-hander Zach Eflin is going on the injured list, according to sources briefed on the matter. It is still very possible he will be traded, one source said. Eflin's injury is not arm-related, and he is expected back during the regular season. Is Mason Miller going to be the next high-end closer traded? In a market already later, Rosenthal and Dennis Lin reported that the Padres were among the teams eyeing Miller. According to that report, https://www/athletic/65269 given NY Times USA appeals to San Diego as a pitcher who could be stretched out next season, if not before then. Another top Padres starter, Michael King, is expected to test free agency this winter. In recent years, the Padres have converted several former relievers to full-time starters, including King, Seth Lugo, and Stephen Kolek. Last night, A's manager Mark Kotsay told reporters that Miller was unavailable, without explaining why, a situation that suggests a trade could be in the works. So even after Joanne Duran and Ryan Helsley have changed teams, the closer market includes Miller, Pete Fairbanks, David Bednar, Carlos Estevez, Camilo Doval, Kyle Finnegan, and possibly Robert Suarez. Despite such supply, reporting suggests the prices remain high. Grade: Seawald, another half measure for Tigers pitching staff. Tigers, D. Guardians, C. This is fine. Seawald has a track record, and he pitched well after returning from the IL in early July, only to end up right back on the IL. For a player to be named or cash, it's a low-cost addition of a pitcher who could supplement the Tigers' bullpen down the stretch, when they might be grateful to have the depth. Fine. Do it. Why not? But the Tigers were, for a while, the best team in baseball this season. They fell hard this month and have since recovered. They've got a chance to do something this October. But so far, they've added only a back-end starter, Chris Paddock, and a couple of used-to-be-good relievers, Seawald and Rafael Montero. On its own, this trade is a low-risk attempt to add some depth. But until the Tigers make a move to actually get better in the here and now, it's hard to see this as a worthwhile priority. Where Padres could turn if they trade Cease, by Ken Rosenthal and Dennis Lin. Baltimore Orioles right-hander Charlie Morton is one starting pitcher the San Diego Padres are pursuing as a potential backup plan if they trade right-hander Dylan Cease, according to sources briefed on the discussions. The Padres are involved in multiple talks with multiple teams. Meanwhile, as many as 10 teams are pursuing Morton. More on Seawald to Tigers. The Guardians are sending reliever Paul Seawald, who's on the injured list with a strain in the back of his shoulder, to the Detroit Tigers in exchange for cash considerations or a player to be named later. Seawald, 35, has made only 18 appearances this season because of a pair of shoulder injuries. Since 2021, He owns a 3.28 ERA. It's the second time in 3 years that Sewald has been dealt at the deadline. And on both occasions, he was confident he wouldn't be traded. In 2023, the Mariners blitzed through their July schedule to climb back into the race. But they still traded Sewald to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who stormed to the World Series. Just last week, he told The Athletic he thought his injury would keep him from being dealt. Instead, he's headed to the division rival Tigers, who sit atop the AL Central. Tigers add to bullpen. Source: an MLB source confirms to The Athletic that the Tigers are acquiring right-handed reliever Paul Sewald from Guardians. The Detroit News first reported the deal. What Blue Jays get in Bieber? Shane Bieber was set to be one of the more intriguing trade candidates at the 2023 deadline. And then he suffered an injury. The Guardians hung on to him that winter and had plans to deal him at the 2024 deadline if the season went awry. And then he needed Tommy John surgery, and the season did not in fact go awry. Even then, the union persisted between the unanimous 2020 AL Cy Young Award winner and the organization that aided his development from a soft-tossing, unheralded prospect. In December, Bieber signed a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Guardians that included a $16 million player option for 2026 or a $4 million buyout. He liked the idea of sticking with the trainers and doctors and coaches who had guided him through his rehab process. Now that the rehab process is nearly over, he's headed to Toronto. Bieber threw 57 pitches over 4 sharp innings on Tuesday. He should be ready to return to a big league mound in the next 2 weeks. Blue Jays add starting depth without breaking up current rotation. For most of the season, the starting rotation seemed like Toronto's obvious area of improvement at the trade deadline. Max Scherzer's thumb cost him months. Eric Lauer had yet to break out. But as of deadline week, the Jays' rotation group is healthy and seemingly stable. Acquiring Shane Bieber allows Toronto to inject more depth and upside to that group without stealing a spot from one of the current 5 starters. The Jays also use their financial flexibility in this deal, as Bieber has a $16 million player option for next year. If healthy and flourishing down the stretch, he'll likely opt out. Another injury could force him to take the 2026 guarantee. It's the type of creative move the Jays were looking for this deadline, adding rotation insurance and upside without upsetting the status quo that has Toronto positioned at the top of the American League East. Go further, Blue Jays, to bolster rotation with former Cy Young winner Shane Bieber in trade with Guardians. Source: https://athletic65222629 Blue Jays, Bieber trade. More on the Blue Jays. After acquiring Shane Bieber, Toronto continues to aim high in the bullpen market. The Jays were in on the Minnesota Twins' Joanne Duran and are also among the teams pursuing the Athletics' Mason Miller, according to sources briefed on their discussions. The San Diego Padres are believed to be mounting the most aggressive pursuit of Miller. It's unclear whether the Jays would part with the package necessary to land a closer who would come with 4 additional years of control. The bullpen market, the frenzied run on relievers that began Wednesday, should continue up to the deadline, considering the number of teams in need and the number of late-inning arms still available. The Detroit Tigers are perhaps the team under the most pressure to act. Ranking 28th in the majors in bullpen strikeout rate, the Tigers' acquisition of righty Rafael Montero from the Atlanta Braves on Wednesday was a modest first step at best. In the AL East alone, the New York Yankees are seeking multiple relievers. The Toronto Blue Jays are still looking for more help after acquiring righty Seranthony Dominguez. The Boston Red Sox might not be done after adding lefty Steven Matz. The Seattle Mariners, a team reported to be heavily in the mix for Joan Duran before his trade to the Philadelphia Phillies, are also still looking, along with the Texas Rangers, Milwaukee Brewers, Los Angeles Dodgers, and others. Among the relievers still in play, beyond the Athletics' Miller, Twins' Fulham, and Padres' Suarez, the Tampa Bay Rays' Pete Fairbanks, Pittsburgh Pirates' David Bednar and Dennis Santana, St. Louis Cardinals' Phil Maton, Colorado Rockies' Jake Bird, Seth Halverson and Victor Vodnik, and Twins' Brock Stewart. Go further. The 8 biggest storylines to watch for on MLB Trade Deadline Day. https://nytimes.com/athletic2025 MLB Trade Deadline Storylines. Source: Blue Jays get Shane Bieber from Guardians. Correa returns to Astros. Blockbuster trade, new role at third base. In a surprising turn of events, Carlos Correa is making his way back to the Houston Astros through a significant trade with the Minnesota Twins, as reported by MLB.com's Brian McTaggart on Thursday. While the teams have yet to officially announce the transaction, the implications are already stirring excitement among fans. Correa, who is set to take on the role of third baseman for Houston, had to relinquish a no-trade clause to facilitate this move. However, the chance to return to his former team was a compelling reason for him to agree. His history with the Astros is impressive. He is a World Series champion, a Gold Glove winner, and was named the American League Rookie of the Year in 2015. Mark your calendars for August 12th, as it's Superman night. Fans can take home a special Altuve bobblehead with an add-on ticket. In his own words, Correa shared, "I had some conversations with the front office in Minnesota, and we were not moving in the direction I expected after our playoff appearance in 2023. They concurred that it was time for me to be traded. I made it clear that there was only one team I would agree to join." According to MLB Network's John Paul Morosi, the Astros will cover the bulk of Correa's remaining contract, while the Twins will provide some cash in the deal. Correa is under contract for $96 million through 2028, with options for the club extending from 2029 to 2032. The Astros are gearing up for a 3-game series against the Red Sox at Fenway Park, and Correa expressed his eagerness to be part of the action. "It's going to be electric. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to get started with the guys again. I'm coming home, and my sole focus is on winning championships." This season has been a roller coaster for Correa. Although he appears to be in good health, he has struggled to find his offensive rhythm. He started the season slowly, rebounded in May with an impressive .875 OPS, faced a slump in June, .682, and showed signs of recovery in July, .759. At times, he has demonstrated flashes of the impactful player he was last year, but consistency has eluded him. Despite these challenges, Correa was among the top players in baseball as recently as 2024. And he continues to be respected for his skills and leadership in the clubhouse. At 30 years old, Correa seems to have fully overcome the plantar fasciitis that has troubled him in previous seasons. Earlier this year, he missed some games due to a concussion from a collision with teammate Byron Buxton, and he is currently sidelined due to a migraine experienced on Tuesday night. He has also dealt with a recurring wrist issue, but it has not significantly impacted his playing time. Overall, Correa has not performed at his usual level this year, with a noticeable drop in power and a career-low walk rate. While he remains reliable at shortstop, his range has diminished, making the transition to third base a sensible choice, especially with Astros third baseman Isaac Paredes currently facing a significant hamstring injury. "I've been eager to play third base for the last couple of years, but that opportunity didn't arise in Minnesota," Correa noted. "We were waiting for a shortstop to come in, and now that I have the chance to play third, it feels like a great fit for me at this point in my career." Despite the ups and downs, Correa has been a vital part of the Twins, both on the field and within the team dynamic. Interestingly, his name had not surfaced in trade discussions until the Astros reached out for a potential reunion.